The Curse. That's right, folks. I'm really excited to talk about this one because there's a lot to dive into when it comes to this show. This is the new one from Paramount plus Showtime. It's Showtime, it's Paramount Plus. They're in a weird state. They could be owned by Warner Brothers, but who really knows? This is also from Nathan Fielder, who's been on a hot streak lately. Was it last year that the rehearsal came out, or was it the year before that? That was a really interesting show that felt like a guy coming out of the pandemic, talking about like who he is and how he feels and how he can never truly be like a normal person. So to follow that up with like this weird critique on himself too is very interesting. On top of this being a Nathan Fielder project, which I'm always excited to see, this is an A24 project, one of their ventures into television, and is written, produced, sometimes directed as well from Benny Safdie. He recently just split up from his brother, and I don't know if it's because of this show, it's probably for a bunch of other reasons, but the Safdie brothers aren't making stuff together anymore. If this is the direction that Benny wants to go, I think he's going to be okay. Because the dude clearly gets it. And we'll get into that in a bit here too, but like he is a really interesting actor as well as creator. He seems like he's more willing to try different things as opposed to what his brother might want to do, which is kind of cool to see. Also, you have those two guys, and then this stars Emma Stone, who is probably going to get an Oscar nomination this year and might even win an Oscar. So here she is doing this weird show with Nathan Fielder. I don't know why, but she's here too. Emma Stone is on this show. Now, when it comes to The Curse, this is the type of show, with every Nathan Fielder project actually, how do you show this to a normal person? When I say normal person, I don't mean like a pundit on the internet, or like someone who's versed in like specific types of comedy, or surrealist versions of stuff, or even someone who likes Twin Peaks. I mean, how do you show this to like a regular person who doesn't follow everything or like everything? Because this is a really weird show. It's very specific in what it's doing, and that specific thing will divide audiences forever, because this is hard to follow, it's hard to grasp if you're not willing to go on the journey with it. And that's probably why you see a bunch of like the weird reactions and criticism to the show. There's a huge kind of split between the people that accept it and the people that don't. And I get that completely. This is a hard one to pin down right away. You have to sit with it. You have to be willing to sit through the cringe of it to truly appreciate it. And that's not something everybody wants to do. Sometimes people just want like a generic program, a generic comedy that just explores things for them. And I get that completely. I really do. And when it comes to Fielder, it's not an easy thing to do. You know, he's a guy that is willing to make you feel uncomfortable. He wants you to sit with that cringe. He wants you to feel that a lot of the time. And that is hard to do for a lot of people. But The Curse is 10 episodes, and the story is, it's Fielder and Stone. They play a newly married couple, and she kind of comes from like a wealthy background. He kind of comes from a more specific, generic background, and she wants to take her like family money in an essence, and she wants to kind of like change it for a community, and they want to host this HGTV show called Fliplanthropy, where they build these green houses, these energy efficient houses. They come back to the community and show people that you can like create this new type of home in this new visually pleasing environment. And you're like, that's kind of like a fun premise. Like having Nathan be a part of that's interesting. The kicker to that is that while they're filming like some B-roll for one of the episodes, Nathan Fielder's character Asher tries to give this kid some money, and he wants to take it back because it was just for the television. And she says, "I curse you." And then the other part of this is thinking that this child actually cursed him, and now he's haunted by that. All the while, his marriage is going through turmoil. One of his oldest friends who's helping them make the TV show is kind of like mooching on his life and trying to like get him scared of curses in a different way. It is really specific, right? That in itself is really weird of a show to make, but you understand how you could do like the parody comedy of there. If we're gonna like do a parody version of an HGTV show where it's like we're doing the classic TLC show, but no, we're just gonna make it a little more silly and make fun of that. That's not what this becomes at all. This becomes a very dry, very cringy, very sit in this for a while type of show where you're here to experience this feeling. You're here to sit in this and let these people just go crazy. This is a really well-made show in the specific thing it's doing. Not going to be for everybody, like I said, but you can't sit here and tell me this is poorly made. The editing is top notch. The music cues are top notch. The way it holds on a shot, the way it makes you feel, it's all perfectly created and crafted to give you that sense, to give you that feeling, so that you're truly trapped in that zone where you can no longer escape. You cannot leave this feeling. You're going to sit there, you're going to take it. It is so quiet. It is so hushed. It is just so loud by being that kind of noise. It's really weird. And everyone is acting the best of their game. I love Nathan Fielder. I've loved Nathan For You. I loved The Rehearsal. But this definitely feels like he's stepping away for a minute from like the thing everyone knows him for. That thing that he's become famous for. And he's like, I can actually do this like proper acting stuff. I can get angry. I can get sad. I can get intense. I can make you feel things you didn't know I could make you feel. There are so many specific moments where he's defending his wife, or he's getting mad at a person in particular, or he's in like a comedy room and he's trying to do something silly and funny, and it's just this guy overacting, overreacting. You don't think he has it in him. You think he's really good at this like specific thing he's been doing his whole career, but he'll come in and give you one of those. And you're like, damn, dude, I didn't know you had it in you. And I feel bad for saying that, but I really didn't know he had it in him to do that kind of thing. But he was so incredible. And then this also just kind of plays off like him critiquing himself. Like, how does he feel? Is he truly going to be alone in the universe? I was reading a couple of takes, one in particular where it's like, this is a man dealing with his vulnerability and how he truly feels like he's only going to be this thing and he can never escape that. And I'm like, that is a very interesting take that I could get from this. And I do get from that, because when it does the classic Nathan Fielder thing in here, you're like, this is a guy who's cringy and awkward. You want to look away, but you can't. But then every now and then he'll just like act out in a really strong acting way. And you're like, holy shit, I didn't realize you could do this, because we've seen you in one setting for so long. Who knew you could escape that? And that's really damn cool. And Emma Stone, it should go without saying that she's just a powerhouse. She's talented at everything. And she's so good at playing somebody who wants to be perceived as like woke and efficient, like this really nice, noble person, but is secretly doing all the things for the wrong reasons. She's so good at that. She has an arrogance to her in this show that you're just not expecting. It's really impressive and really cool what she is able to do, how she's able to play that, how she can handle it. It's amazing. It's really amazing that she can do that. And even Benny Safdie, he's having a good run so far. Like the projects he's worked on, he's been incredible at. And he is so good at this role, just like this weird guy who doesn't really have it together, but he can't really say anything about it. And he's like, I'm kind of in control of this project. I'm kind of not. He's so good at this thing. And you just want to see more of him doing that kind of thing. And I think he will. He definitely feels like he's going to try for these things more. He's been promoting it a lot, this show, because he also worked on it in a lot of ways. It's really impressive. Like the three of them, they're doing something you're not expecting. All of them. You don't think Stone can get this cringy because she's so believably cool. You don't think Fielder can get this intense because he's just a guy that's like so specific in his comedy. And you didn't know if Benny Safdie could pull this off, but he does. And you surround that with this weird like state of New Mexico where they're like this gentrification of a neighborhood. Like we're bringing new people in here. Maybe people that don't want to be here. We're not actually helping the neighborhood. Nobody wants to buy these houses. We're stealing indigenous artwork for certain things. It becomes like that weird trait of that, all while it's like lying about what you do to actually make a show like this. All the while there's like this really small undercurrent of like actual horror and disgusting stuff going on where you're like, are they actually cursed? Is there actually more shady things going on in this world than we can realize? Leading to a really interesting finale that is just like, who can say for certain what's real or not? What is truly happening out there? And it gives you this really weird sense of like, oh, it wants you to sit in the cringe. And that's hard for some people. I mean this in the nicest way possible. That is going to be divisive no matter what you do. Now, I genuinely think this show is interesting. I'm not going to say it's the best thing Fielder has made. I don't think it is. Sometimes the cringe is just cringe without being like some deeper thing. But also that's the kind of thing this show wants you to play with. It wants you to feel is that maybe because we know who's the creator, we know who's involved here, thinking about it is the point when there's actually no deeper subtext involved. But that's very, Twin Peaks adjacent, just like thinking about the stuff that's being seen and not being seen. And I think there's an apt comparison to be made there. Overall, this is a show that's like, feel this. Is this a weird thing to feel? Do you feel uncomfortable the way Emma Stone is talking right now? Do you feel uncomfortable the way Fielder is acting right now? How he's so protective of his wife and she can't give him any attention? That's a feeling you're going to feel for the 10 episodes. It's very dry and specific, and some people are going to find so much joy in that, and others are going to be put off by it immensely. I'm somewhere in the middle. I like all the effort put into this. I think it's perfectly acted. These scripts are crazy for what they're trying to do, and it's a show that is really well executed. That execution is just so specific that it's going to be hard to penetrate in anybody. And it's going to work well for a lot of people. But even more so than that, it's going to put off a lot of people too, because this is something else. But you know what? Emma Stone got a Golden Globe nomination for it, and I think that's earned. I think Fielder is doing some really intense acting work, more so than we've seen from him before. So that's pretty exciting. Like, this is a show that is worth exploring. To talk about, like, just on a basic level, like what goes into making an HGTV show where you're like flipping houses. How are we affecting a community? Just talking about those stuff, like the gentrification and the low income housing stuff. Like, that's all very interesting. You add in the mix of just like the viral TikTok sensation of maybe somebody being cursed, how that affects the mentality of a man who's already broken from being cuckolded by his wife. That becomes really interesting. And you add that with just like a side character who's just got a bunch of rings and long hair and is just like afraid to get behind the wheel because he thinks he's been cursed because he accidentally killed his wife in a drunk driving accident. It's so weird, but that feeling's kind of cool too. It's a very specific tone. It's something to explore. And you know what? I am impressed that Paramount and Showtime were the ones to pick this up. Now, does that mean they're going to stick with Fielder for a while? I don't know. It depends how the numbers did. But I think the reaction alone that people have towards this, and Emma Stone in particular, is going to save it for a lot. Because it's something. It is really something. And that's crazy enough to explore. So I respect it for that. It ain't perfect, but what it's doing, it's very interesting. It's a very weird show. But that's cool. We need more stuff like that. Stuff that makes you think as opposed to just, basic shit. Halo's coming out soon, so there you go, Paramount. So, The Curse. I am going to give a 7 out of 10. Now, thank you all for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And, of course, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.